Hello, Naoki Sakaino, Paul Homchick, and a bunch of others. Jeff Ogle in Annapolis. Patrick Dyer is watching. Paul Homchick. Yo! Ted Ryman down in Cape Town. Yo! Peter Ham, Jonathan Frank, and a bunch of others. Welcome to today's show. It's a Friday. It's a beautiful day. Summer is here in San Francisco, I'm proud to say, pleased to say. Warren Schasser down in Oz in Brisbane, where it's Saturday morning, saying morning, Tom and Julia. Welcome to you, Warren. Ricardo Lobato in Rio, down in South America, in Brazil. Nice to see you back, Ricardo. Yeah. Greetings from New York City, flying San Francisco in 3 hours, Jonathan Frank is saying. Our United Airlines pilot friend, Ola from Denmark, Gordon Smith, who always says, Ola, you lovely people. He's looking forward to the soccer game on Sunday. And that's about it. Jeff, did you feel the earthquake? Yes, we did. It was, we had a pretty good rolling quake here yesterday afternoon. Welcome aboard, Carlos Aviz and everyone else. Let's get this show on the road.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our show number 436, TFE Live for Friday, the 9th of July, 2021. I am here in Studio B in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District at the Beach Street Yacht Club with my co-host, supervising producer, landlady, dear friend, Julia Vedikin. Yes, we did feel the quake, didn't we, Julia?
We did. But it was a nice little rolling one.
But it lasted for quite a while.
It did.
And initially they said it was just over in Stockton in the East Bay, up by
Right.
St. Francis Yacht Club's Tinsley Island. And then the U.S., who is a Geological Survey,
Yeah.
whoever it is, said later that it was actually, they consolidated and said, no, it was one bigger quake up by Lake Tahoe that affected. But there's been a swarm of quakes, haven't there?
Yes, maybe 200 of them, little ones.
In just the last, week or so?
A couple of days.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, but that's normal. You have one kind of biggie and then everything else happens.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we don't have the biggie anytime soon. Certainly not during this show. And if you see things come crashing down, you'll know why. Welcome again, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Let's get this one moving ahead. I want to thank Andrew McIrvin, who was with us, as those of you who are regulars will know. A terrific interview. Again, we talked about the Round the Island race with 1,200 boats, one of the biggest public events in the UK this year, maybe the largest so far. And then he gave us, as the British surgeon that he is, gave us a COVID update, the Delta variant and so on, and basically saying get vaxxed, get double vaxxed, wash your hands, socially distance, and go sailing. But it's a little concerning because, Julia, as you and I have both been discussing, it is possible to be double vaxxed and then have the so-called breakthrough COVID. In fact, they've just announced here in the last day or so that Pfizer, you had Moderna,
Yeah.
I had the Pfizer, but those with Pfizer, it's maybe the efficacy against the variant is a little lower. You might have a breakthrough case. The good news is if you get it, you're not going to go to the horse pistol,
Yep.
let alone die.
Yeah,
almost
that's
certainly.
really nice about all the three say that, and the differences are astounding.
Well, it is, but again, you want to get vaxxed. I think we're not here to give medical advice. And thanks again to Andrew McIrvin, who was with us on Tuesday, and as always, a terrific guest, terrific interview. We also told you on Tuesday about this storm, the Elsa that had gone through Barbados and Cuba, and then up the west coast of Florida, and Bill Wingrove and some of our other FOSI down there, Major Hall, got wet, and it was windy and a bit wild, but nothing earth-shaking. And now it's gone through, as we predicted, or we didn't predict, NOAA predicted, and our big weather service, National, that it was going to go right through Annapolis, and it did. And then this morning early, it made its way up the coast and went across Newport 3 hours ago. The kind of worn out eye of the storm passed right over Newport, Rhode Island, and it's now out to sea north and east of Boston. And I spoke earlier today with our longtime friend and FOSI Brad Reed, who's the executive director of the esteemed executive director of the even more esteemed Sail Newport, the Community Sailing Center, Newport, Rhode Island. And Brad said, yes, this was a couple hours ago. He said, yes, just some 25 to 35 knots for a few hours. The remnants of the eye are going overhead in about an hour. So this was maybe 3 hours ago now. We tied some extra bow lines on the J-22s and made sure all the power boats were tied up well in the docks. Some pretty good torrential showers, otherwise all good at Sail Newport. BI, meaning Block Island, had a couple of good puffs near 60. Mm-hmm. We touched 40 at Rose Island, which is the little island there right off Goat Island in Narragansett Bay, just south of the bridge, between the bridge and Sail Newport and Fort Adams there, those of you who are familiar with Newport. But all good there, and it's just a good winter storm in the summer. You get that kind of wind in the winter there, not unusually. Also, we want to recognize my other favorite sport, and all of you in Florida, Tampa Bay, a big sailing center, Bill Wingrove, as we mentioned. Lord Stanley's Cup was won again by Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Here a couple days ago, they are once again the NHL champs, so bravo Zulu to them. I'm surprised, Julia, how many keen fans there are, hockey fans.
I was just really thinking about that again, too. You hardly think of Tampa as the hockey capital of the world.
Exactly. And what's that all about? But you know who they beat? They beat the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes.
And, of course, Canada. Oh, Canada is not too happy about having not only lost the cup, but lost the sport to the Americanes once again. Of course, a lot of Canucks on that team and a lot of Europeans on that team as well. As Americans, bravo Zulu to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Julia, I teased this at the top of the show. This is your governor.
Yes.
I vote in Michigan because that's my illegal residence, so I don't vote here. But we're becoming a third world country in the sixth largest economy or fifth largest economy in the world. A couple days ago, yesterday, in fact, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who was a big friend of the America's Cup when it was here, and he was mayor, signed an executive order Thursday encouraging all Californians to reduce water use by 15%. As 50 of the state's 58 counties are now a drought-related state of emergency.
Yes.
Newsom stated that the order is purely voluntary for now at least and called for smaller measures such as taking shorter showers or watering lawns less frequently. How about taking showers together?
What a good idea.
We don't have any water once again. And after, we had the drought X many years ago, have they done anything about that? Have they done anything about, building more aquifers or repairing the dams up at Oroville?
Some, yes, but not enough.
But they take our money and do other things with it, like
always
social programs that we won't go in. We're not going to talk about politics here, but California, to be sure, we're not going to talk about crime and about, all that kind of stuff. But wait, there's more. Where's that? Do you know that?
I want to just add a little bit to that. California has done fairly well on a voluntary basis since the last
drought.
And while 20% down sounds like a huge amount, we're already 19% down.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. But that's just mostly Northern California. But
we send all our water to Southern California, which is a desert. So that Hollywood and this next picture, you recognize that beautiful town? Do you recognize that beautiful town?
No. Miami.
No, that's Southern California. That's the moon rising over San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. There we go.
In fact, this right here, San Diego Yacht Club, that's that beautiful clubhouse.
Yes.
And their wonderful water facility, the big parking lot, their tennis courts, they have a swimming pool right here. It is a fantastic place.
It is.
And this is one of the most famous photos, or this perspective, I should say, from up on top of Point Loma, over the club and looking into downtown and with the mountains of Mexico behind, looking more or less to the southeast. But there's a flex alert issued late last night for San Diego and all our friends down there. It's a huge sailing community. Daughter Meg lives down there and so on. A flex alert, what the hell is that? Issued for today ahead of Triple digit heat. San Diego, California's utility grid operator issued a flex alert for residents on Friday. Not only do we not need water, we don't have any power. Thursday, California ISO issued the statewide alert for Friday from 4 to 9 today. The alert asks that residents reduce their energy usage during that time to ease the strain on the state's energy capacity in the electric grid. To conserve power during a flex alert, residents are asked to set thermostats to 78 degrees or higher. We don't have that problem here because we don't have air con, and
no.
Most people don't, at least here in the central city in the marina. But look at this.
But that's not news.
It is news. Avoid major appliances, turn off unnecessary light. During the day, residents can pre-cool their homes, use major appliances, and charge electronics to avoid power use later in the day. Excuse me, Julie, we're not a third world country here in California. And we don't have any power, and once before you know, we're going to have rolling blackouts.
Yes.
Right?
We're very close to that.
And then the fires will start,
mm-hmm.
and then they'll turn off the power some more because nobody's done anything to clear all the underbrush for the last 50, 60 years. Mm-hmm. Your house up in Calistoga will be under threat. Again. And who knows, and God forbid anybody's hurt badly, but inevitably there are people and pets and animals and so on. But to our friends down in San Diego, stay safe. Julia, you're a witness.
Yeah. Well, like, follow, and share.
You got that out properly.
Yeah, but I
yeah, you got to look at your new little monitor there.
Yeah.
Not at the Facebook where you're watching all these comments from all these. Look at all the comments. Save energy, go sailing. Jonathan Frank is saying. Comments welcome too, even in replay, as I always like to say. And by golly, we're getting a lot of comments. It's terrific. And we're also getting new patrons via Patreon. Join us, patreon.com/join/sailing illustrated. And you know, there's a new setup called Buy Me a Coffee. And people can sign on to Buy Me a Coffee, and if they want to give us $5.95, I don't know if that buys you coffee anymore, but they can do that as well. We may sign up for that, but remember, this is viewer-supported media. We appreciate your support very much. Thank you for joining us for our show number 436. We're approaching 450. I'd start the show out with a Bravo Zulu to a couple of new world champions and to the ocean race. So let's start with the Opti Worlds with a terrific video. The Opti Worlds ended today at Lake Garda with 3 races. Bravo Zulu to the young Brazilian, who is the new world champion. Alex Di Francesco Cool is his name. Now, this is the American who he beat. They had a hug. Nice sportsmanship. American, we'll tell you about in a minute in a second. Just got this video ahead of the show, thanks to the IODA, the National Optimist Dinghy Association. I trust that's not champagne, but it is.
It is.
It's also a great video. It is cool. But that's what Opti sailors are. We'll be no doubt reading and hearing a lot about this young man and the others who are in the top 10, because they're all will be top sailors. Here he is from Brazil, the new world champion, Brazilian Alex Di Francesco. Is it Francesco or Francesco in Portuguese? Cool, K-U-H-L, sounds like a German name.
Yes. Is
the new world champion and the women's champion. They all sail together. The men and the women sail together, and then the top woman in the list, in the Gold Fleet, or whatever that top fleet is called, finished 7th overall from memory. A French woman, girl named Lomaine Valade. Valade is the winner in the female ranking. So bravo Zulu to Alex, and to the runner-up Gil Hackle, who's from Pensacola, from down on the Gulf Coast in this country, and he led the last 2 days and then fell out of the top spot just today in the final 3 races. Then Italy, look at the different countries here. Italy, Spain, Thailand. By the way, Italy won the team racing earlier in the last 10 days. Thailand was the runner-up once again in the team racing. Thailand's very tough in this class.
Oh, yes.
Another Italian, French, Ukraine, another Brazilian, and another Italian. So, you would expect the Italians to do well. They're in their home waters at Lago Garda, but a fantastic outcome for the young Brazilian. And also for the American, who, as I mentioned, led both Wednesday night and again Thursday night, and then fell out of the top spot today, Gil Hackle, I don't know the young man, but we're going to try to get him on the show with maybe we'll get a little help from Talbot Wilson down at Pensacola Yacht Club. Remember Talbot, who was on the show?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most popular shows we ever done, he did a segment right after Bernie Wilson did a segment on here's what I, as a professional journalist, like to see from clubs and classes.
Right.
And then Talbot, who's a long time
Yes.
and veteran PR guy and a terrific PR guy, came on and said, well, here's what we as a club and the Gulf Yachting Association, Pensacola Yacht Club, and so on, our clients do. And, you know, he does it mostly for free and for fun, but he's also a consummate pro.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can get Gil Hackle on the show. I'd love to get him teed up when he gets back and settled in at Pensacola Yacht Club down on the Gulf Coast of our country. Bravo, Zulu Gil. And to all of you in Pensacola and on the Gulf Coast, because he's been tearing up the Gulf Coast Opti world the last year or so. And without that kind of competition, he wouldn't be winning. Now, I'm not quite sure about this opening of this next Bravo Zulu, but the Ocean Race issued a video yesterday, maybe today, but in the last 24 hours. And it's fun, and it celebrates what, by all accounts, and what we thought, and Julia, you thought as well, the Ocean Race Europe that we followed quite closely on this show was a lot of fun and a
absolutely
terrific event. Have a look at this video.
The Ocean Race Europe is great. I think it's a great concept. It should happen every year. It should last a month to a month and a half, going around the whole of Europe, very fast rhythm, do a lot of pro-am sailing, guest sailing, coastal sailing, just non-stop. Europe is, you know, a union of nations, and we need to have a race that just joins them together, and we need a race like this to happen every year.
Yeah, it has been probably one of the nicest events since a long time. I hope this race will bring us closer to the start to the next Ocean Race, and I can't actually wait to to get to the starting line. Yeah.
Well, I think first of all, to me personally, I just love the Ocean Race, and I think it has been a very good event just for all especially for the new teams, because I think it has been an eye opener for them, and to see what all the possibilities are also for their partners. So I think in that sense it has been excellent that this race has been organized. So that's just a huge thumbs up for everybody involved.
The Ocean Race Europe has truly been a special event because it's in very special times that we are now. We have a tough year behind us and it's still not over, the pandemic. And to see how the cities in Europe, how the teams from Europe and across the world, and us as a race organization with our partners have come together, that has truly shown what ocean racing is about, doing the extraordinary, and the values that has been created for the benefit of ocean health and for the benefit of partners and teams is great. Seeing the smiles and the happiness on the sailors that have been able to do this race, that has been the big reward to me.
I think it's just been fantastic, and to pull it off here in such a difficult couple of years for the world and for companies and everything is really, really amazing feat. You know, my hat's off to the Ocean Race for organising, and also for all the teams and sponsors that have helped.
I think the racing was great. I think it's the first racing we as a team have done since 2019. So that in and of itself was very special. I think everyone enjoyed themselves.
And in general, it was just amazing to sail this the Ocean Race Europe. We really enjoyed it, and it tastes for more. We want to go for the big one.
I think there is so much to learn from doing this kind of races. The guys who are going to get involved in this race with their boats, with their IMOCA 60s, are going to learn a lot.
The other thing is like the mission Ocean Race Carry, about the sustainability and saving the oceans. I think that's really powerful, and not many sports can actually make an impact or send this strong message. And I'm really proud of where we are and what we're doing.
After this, and after being here in the Ocean Race Europe, I'm more motivated than ever to keep on going.
We now start preparing for the Round the World race, and we work with the 10 cities around the world that we will visit, starting from Alicante, Cape Verde, Cape Town, Shenzhen, Auckland, Itajaí, Newport, Aarhus, The Hague, and back here, Genoa in 2 years. So we are the hub in a network of cities, of teams, of partners, and we keep working with all our stakeholders for the next 2 years to make the best possible ocean race ever in 22-23.
Okay, good event, good video, right? You like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I sure did too. Before we go to this day in history, I'll leave that slide up for a sec, Julia. But we've got Julia on her new, our old iMac that used to be our streaming computer is now, as I mentioned on Tuesday, over on Julia's desk. So she's got big slides and big comments, and also her little monitor to watch the show live. But she's watching our comments, which is a big help for me. Jody Shields, Andrew Pindar, I agree. If all the water is used for bathing, how will they make beer? That's a big problem here in California. Paul Homchick, urban water usage in California is 10%. That's a good point. Total usage is mostly agricultural. 15% of the 1/2 of 1%. Yeah, this request is nonsense. Well, Paul is as usual probably right. Clark Chapin regarding water in California.
I also have to feed the nation, which.
Well, that's right. The Central Valley is the biggest here in California is the biggest producer of vegetables and fruits, and of course we produce some fruits here on the coast too.
Yes.
And that was not a gay reference. I'm just talking about some crazy people.
Yes.
John Emmett, in Japan, when you wash your hands, the water goes into the toilet, ready to be used for the next flush. It saves a huge amount of water. Every country should have that. There are, however, unexpected features such as play a tune, warm the seat, bidet, etc. in Japan. My biggest concern have once been I didn't know which button was flush all in Japanese.
Yeah.
Emmett's headed there in a couple days, in just a few days. Jonathan Frank's back on ice hockey. I miss the Leach, Barber, Clark days of the Broad Street Bullies, as they were called. The Philadelphia Flyers were a tough team. But we digress. What else here? Did anyone see all the celebrations from the Opti World's fantastic event? Well, yeah, I think that was I didn't see anything, John Emmett, other than that video, and I didn't find. I looked for a picture of the girl,
the
Italian or the French girl who won the ladies, finished 7th overall. So we try to get another picture of her and see if there's any follow-up videos. And as I say, we'd love to get the American kid at least on. Pindar saying it's been raining cats and dogs for the last 2 weeks in the Alps. Californians, please feel free to collect.
New York subways are 3 feet deep in water right now.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of political commentary on that too. With little water in California reservoirs and Lake Mead, it's starting to affect. That's the point. It's starting to affect hydropower generation. Bill Parker saying William Parker, presumably in Cincinnati, normally is. Emmett's reminding us that Robert and Gintari Scheidt's son, Eric, Robert Scheidt, who is going to be at the Olympics representing Brazil again in the laser class.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think he's one of the favorites, even at the advanced age of whatever he is, 48, 49. And he's a horse of it, we'll see how he does.
Yeah.
But their son, Eric Scheidt, is now sailing Optimus. He will be one to watch, guaranteed, no doubt. They recycle everything else. Yeah, okay, very cool. We all know what happens 9 months after a power outage, Chris X. There wasn't the big birth bump. No. Is that the right word? That people expected during the COVID thing. Right. In fact, kind of people went to, how do I put this politely? They kind of went to ground, and they didn't. You're giving Pindar some nice ink there. Come on, don't be modest. We've seen you recycling Bar Karate Sailor's lager, Jody Shields. I wonder if Jody can create beer out of water. Who was it? Was it Midas who created something out of gold? He had the Midas touch, but who was it that created wine out of water? Somebody in the biblical. Jesus do that? Who did that? Created wine out of water. Somebody in the
I think so.
Bible did that. Kid does have a cool name, Jeff. Oh, okay, the puns. We try not to make jokes or puns. Well, jokes we make, but no pun. Well done, Jeff Ogle. You know what, Julia, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use that, okay? On this mixer, we've got sounds.
New toy.
Yeah, and we got the rim shot. We got applause. We got laughter. I resist using them because the only one I might use is if we get you know, somebody making a crotonic comment, and we say, well, what's the reaction? And I'll use. And there's one other button we have on here, Julie. If you say a coarse language, say something crotonic.
Yes.
We can beep you. It's corny. I'm not going to use it. And having said that, I just used it. Jody Shields, yeah, Chris Exley, yep, makes males everywhere get 9 months of not having to drive back from any parties. Chris Shepard, love to hear your thoughts on the recently released Gov Cup team invitees, favorites for this year, reasons for no teams from down under. Yeah, I've got that release here, and let me go to that now. We are doing a Road to the Gov Cup at the end of the show, but I wasn't really going to cover this until Tuesday's show. This release just came out yesterday, or maybe the day before, but the Balboa Yacht Club announced on the 8th, yeah, that was yesterday, who will compete. And this is Christine, our good friend Christine Robertson-Gribben. And there is Timothée Pellet, who is representing France, but he is actually from New Caledonia, so as Andy Rose calls it, metropolitan France. We've got Emile Kajer, who is who is from Denmark, KDY, the Royal Danish Yacht Club, and we've got the Road to the Gov Cup segment with him today, later in the show. He will be there. Marius Vesterlund from Sweden, and Andy and I are going to do a recording of him at ASAP. We've already done David Wood and Jeffrey Peterson, or at least, yeah, we had them on with Dave Perry from the Rose Cup. So those two guys. And then Jack Egan, who we did on Tuesday, Angsgard Jordan, Porter Cavley. Now, Porter Cavley's from a terrific sailing family. He's from Annapolis, and he's on the sailing team at Fordham University, so they're coming. So a disproportionate number of Americans, including Morgan Pinckney of Newport Harbor, just across the bay from Balboa Yacht Club, and Owen Lahr, who's from here in the Bay Area, up in Richmond Yacht Club. And his dad's a Fozy and is often on here watching. So that rounds out the field. Sadly, only 10 participants this year, and none down under, as you correctly observed, Chris Shepard, because of COVID. And it's not because they can't come or they can't get back. And it's also why there aren't any Brits, because the Brits also have the same kind of restrictions that the Kiwis and the Aussies have, getting in and or out. And they don't want to be cooped up in quarantine for 2 weeks after coming up here for Gov Cup. Having to pay for it's just part of it, but then miss sailing in lots of other events.
Right.
Even though Andy Rose and the Balboa Yacht Club crowd and Dr. Rob Bray have organized, all the tests and, in fact, vaccines for anybody who needed or wanted them. But that's a nice press release from Susan Kenny that came out, and we'll talk more about that as we go forward. But as I said, later in this show, we have Emile, who's not named after Emile Bos-Mossbacher, by the way. I asked him in the interview, but
does he know?
Kiar, he did not. He'd never heard of Bos-Mossbacher. I mean, the kid's only what is he? 18.
Yeah.
Mossbacher, Bob Bos-Mossbacher won the Cup twice on Weatherly in '64 and Intrepid in '67. How's that for drawing up a couple?
I'm proud of you.
No big deal. Well, let's go to this day in history, and as I said, we'll have that Road to the Gov Cup with Emile, the Danish kid, Emile Chiari, nice young guy. I mean, as Andy Rose says, it gives one great confidence in the future of the world when you meet and see these kids and hear them articulate their views of the world, and particularly the sailing. We're going to start with this day in history because it relates to, well, a couple things, including Rhode Island and then the Olympics. But in this day in history, do you know what happened on the 9th of July, 1663? This is the first of two auspicious occurrences.
1663.
You'll never guess this. And if anybody does, it's because they Googled, because Clark Chapin or one of the guys gals went on to this day in history on one of the websites. Here's your first clue.
Joan of Arc days.
It's a little after Joan of Arc, I think. We did Joan of Arc, didn't we, once? I don't know. After 4 years, I can't remember them. So we've been accused of repeating some of these, but to my knowledge, we haven't. I have a spreadsheet that You know that I gave you, there's the clue, there's the answer. That is King Charles II, who lived from 1630 till 1685. And here's your other clue. As obscure as that is, does anybody know who that is?
Martin Luther?
No. Look at all these comments. I'm down here to see if anybody's, I'm skipping a bunch of comments just to see. Louis XIII, Morris Stevens is asking. Fire of London, the first silk underwear in England, Stingray is saying.
Yes.
Oh, come on. Spanish Armada was defeated. Cabot. All guesses, good guesses, but not correct. There's the clue.
Roger Williams.
Roger Williams, who was the founder of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
He was born in London, died in Providence, Rhode Island, 1603 to 1683. And Roger Williams was a Puritan minister, theologian, and author who founded the Providence Plantations, which is the official name of the state. In fact, they've just changed the name to Rhode Island. It was originally, for a long time, it was what? Something, we'll think of it. But the Providence got dropped from the state name, I believe, in a referendum in November. But Providence Plantation, which became the colony of Rhode Island and later the U.S. state of Rhode Island, he was a staunch advocate for religious freedom, separation of church and state, and fair dealings, they say. This may be more myth than reality, but with Native Americans. And this painting here is, I'll go back to it. Could you see the painting? I guess I covered it up with this title. But it's a painting of Roger Williams returns from England is the title of the painting by somebody, a gentleman called C.R. Grant, circa 1886, quite a bit later, a couple hundred years later almost, more than. King Charles II, on this day, the significance is granted a charter to Rhode Island. But it was more than that. The Charter of 1663 was a document. It allowed settlers in Rhode Island to govern their own colony and guaranteed their individual freedom of religion. It was the first charter to offer this degree of freedom to a colony. And I skip ahead, but it united Providence, Portsmouth, and Newport. Portsmouth's the little town at the top of Aquidneck Island. Yeah. Newport, of course, the big town at the bottom of that island. And together, along with Providence and the others, make up what is now the state of Rhode Island. And this charter protected encroachment from other colonies. And after Civil War and years of upheaval, the English monarchy was restored when Charles II came to the throne. Last sentence, the charter holds a unique place in the evolution of human rights in the modern world because I go back a sentence, this freedom was extremely radical in an age marked by wars of religion and persecution of people for religious beliefs. So on this day in history, 1663, freedom of religion was granted to our smallest state, one of the original 13, Rhode Island, little Rhodey. And that state is still, and Newport in particular, very proud of their religious freedom. They're also, because of all that, and Mr. Roger Williams, is the home of the first synagogue, or one of the Touro synagogue, one of the first, if not the first, one of the first, if not the first, Greek Orthodox churches, and so on and so forth. So, yeah. Roger Williams University, just while we're on that topic, has a famously cool campus on Narragansett Bay, including this reasonably new sailing center. Here's the view from the land out to the boats with the
that's nice.
420s and the FJs and that beautiful dock that looks a little bit like the Ida Lewis Yacht Club Pier in Newport. That's the Breedy Sailing Center at Roger Williams University. So that is a cool place. And by the way, Sail Newport is also right there. Sail Newport, U.S. Sailing, has their offices now. They moved them out of Newport and up there to the campus of Roger Williams University.
Oh, that's good.
Another event of interest today, won't belabor it, but in 1853, 2 years after AC-0, the first America's Cup, the American Admiral Matthew C. Perry, Commodore I guess he was, sailed his frigate, the Susquehanna, into Tokyo Bay. Remember the black ships?
Oh, yeah.
Opening Japan to Western influence and trade on this day, 1853. Again, only 2 years after AC-0, the first around the Isle of Wight America's Cup, non-America's Cup, but what led, obviously, to the America's Cup. I thought that was significant given what we're going to celebrate now, which, of course, is in a week's time, the Olympics are starting, and all eyes are on Tokyo, and, of course, the sailing world, which is Enoshima. Why don't we stop there, Julie, because we got so bloody many comments, and see what else people have to say. John Emmett, wasn't he and friends? I don't know who they're talking. The first synagogue in North America, David Corman is saying, thanks, David. Yeah. Mary Jude Szymanski has joined us. Morris Stevens, of course. Mary Jude is in Philly, and Morris Stevens is up in the Maritimes in Canada. The settlers often claimed they wanted religious freedom. Certain research shows, Gordon Smith is saying, that they wanted to be able to run more strict congregations than were permitted in England. I mean, that's why they left. The Roger Williams and co. left.
Yeah.
They weren't the Puritans. They were the Puritans. After the Pilgrims, the Puritans, they said, well, you got to follow our religion. We're going to stay here in the Mass Bay colony. Yeah. And they said, screw you. We're going to go find some other place where we can practice freedom. Yes. True freedom of religion. That's why the guy is cool in Rhode Island, Commonwealth of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. Chris, actually, thank you. A great singer of country music, Roger Williams. That's true.
That is also true.
What did he do? Did he do trailers for sale and rent?
No.
Room to who did that? That wasn't Roger Williams?
No.
Somebody on here will know. Spanish Armada, no. Let's go back to some of these other comments. Weatherly 62. Did I say 64? Thanks, Todd Johnson. Weatherly 62 and Intrepid 67. Thank you. Opportunity for Tom's new toy. It was freaking hot in Seattle last week. What's my new toy, Stingray?
Your applause reactions.
All this?
Yeah.
Sorry it was so hot up there, Stingray. That is not correct. That's just Crutonic. Do you have a starboard? Yeah, we could have some nautical things. Starboard, and we could have a foghorn, and we could have a bell buoy, I suppose.
Yeah.
What else is on here? I can't remember. Oh, there's some scary. We'll do that every time Jody Shields makes a comment. Okay.
Crutonic?
No, yeah, Crutonic. Well, that's a. Rob Fry's up early in Auckland in New Zealand. Of course, their kids are getting ready. His kid and Leonard Takahashi getting ready to go up to the Olympics representing Japan, the 49er. What else? Anybody else? Lots and lots of comments. Roger Miller sang it, Julia, I think.
Oh, yeah?
William D. Haynes says, Roger Williams wrote Trailer for Sale or Rent. Who sang it? Roger Miller. Rhode Island was named by Dutch explorer Adrian Block. Ted Ryman is saying down in Cape Town. He named it Rude Island, meaning Red Island in reference to the red clay that lined the shore. The name was later anglicized when the region came under British rule. Oh, you got some smart people on here. Thank you, Ted Ryman. Welcome to Brett Healy is a new name. Roger Williams. Trailers for sale or rent. You know what we're going to do? We're going to keep the guitar in here. No, we're not. No, we're not. Okay. We keep the guitar in here if we ever have to break into song and sing it. Too. Okay, let's get to the Olympics. You probably all have heard that there won't be any spectators. This report from Sky News, Oz.
Olympic Games will go ahead, but without spectators. Japan's Olympics minister says organisers agreed fans should not be allowed to attend. A state of emergency has been declared for the city as coronavirus cases surge. The order requires restaurants to close early and prevents alcohol from being served. People are also asked to avoid unnecessary trips. However, most stores will remain open. The declaration will last until August 22.
Athletes' families and ticket holders, they were looking forward to the games, and their dream will not come true. And I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah, and as John Emmett says, it's absolutely not a surprise. You could see this coming from 100 miles away is the wrong metaphor, but for weeks, we've seen it. We've seen it coming, and you've heard ups and downs. Oh, you're not going to have spectators. Oh, you're going to have local spectators. Now they're not going to have any spectators, sadly, but at least the games appear to be happening. God forbid anything happens between now and next week. We hope they go on for the sake of all the athletes, including and especially the sailors. Here's John Emmett's report from this morning.
Hi, I'm John Emmett and I'm here in Southampton now, gradually moving closer to Heathrow Airport and the eventual departure for Japan. It seems to be a long time coming. Well, the Olympic Games is actually a year later than initially expected, and it's going to be one I'm sure that myself and everybody will never forget. The social media these days seems to be absolutely full of photos of people going on aeroplanes and Olympic accreditations and so forth. And this will be one of my last reports from the UK. I think the Games is going to be held in a very safe way. And at the moment, there's some breaking news about the coronavirus increased restrictions in Tokyo. All the way to the end of the Games. Personally, I think this is a very good thing to get the Games completed in the safest possible way. And I think reading between the lines, that looks like there may be a spectator ban completely, but that's still ongoing, lots of talks. So I don't want to quote that wrong. The main thing for me is that we're going to have Olympic Games and the sailing is going to be spectacular. So I'm really looking forward to going. And then closer to home, we've been doing a lot of work with Restart Sailing, which is about resetting the sailing to clubs, classes and grassroots. And I think at this time with so much Olympic focus, I also want to really emphasise that sailing is there for everybody. And there's just so much participation across different sports in Restart Sailing. I recently interviewed a Danish sailor. He does foiling in wasps, he does big boats in G80s, and he also won one of the e-sailing world or rather Olympic regattas, which is something very special. It shows how transferable the skills are, and I was very pleased after England beat Denmark that there's still a few Danes who are happy to chat to me. So I think that's very interesting to show people doing a variety of sports. And I know that Sailing Illustrated is a huge fan of the Finn class. And I believe Joe Cardona was or possibly still is an e-sailing world champion. So there you go. That might be a surprise to some people. And before that, I was talking to kite surfers who would come through mirror dinghies and 29ers and all those grassroots boats. So I hope that 2021 and onwards, it's going to be sailing coming together and everybody working together for the common good. And I think the Olympics is something that brings everyone together. So I'm here in Southampton and I'll be doing another report next week as the drum keeps on beating for Tokyo.
A little applause for John. He's doing these reports so... Oops, we don't want to hear it again. He's giving us these reports every Tuesday and every Friday, and we appreciate it very much, John. He is clearly outstanding in his field, at least there
literally
in Southampton. That's a couple reports he's done from there. But thanks, John.
Yeah.
And obviously they have not only banned the spectators, which we all saw coming and John mentioned, but also they have extended the state of emergency, I think, until August 23rd. So fully this whole period during the Olympics and then the Paralympics after that. Of course, remember that goes on too. So hopefully it will be conducted safely.
Yeah, I thought I heard August 30, but
well, it went sometime late. No, you may be right, but whenever it is. Okay, John, thanks for that. Now this is a cool video. One of two that have been produced by World Sailing's producing videos featuring some of the top athletes. And we've been airing them as we see them. And this is another nice one. Have a look. This, I beg your pardon. This is just called Get Ready for Tokyo. Are you ready for the Tokyo Olympics? Then we got another athlete feature after this. 350 sailors from 65 nations are set to compete. Between 25 July and 4 August, racing will be held across 10 events. Venue, of course, is Enoshima, not Enoshima. Enoshima is how the Japanese pronounce it. 470s, men and women. Acras, 49er FX and 49er. RSX, men and women. The NACRA again. At World Sailing, we'll be covering it. We had a chat with John. I'm not sure I caught you up on this. We had a chat with John Emmett I did yesterday about what he might be able to do from
Of
either the
Olympics.
village
or
from he can't do anything in the venue because it's all the accredited broadcasters, NBC in this country and whomever else has the rights in your country, plus others, are the only ones that can broadcast. And if they catch John or anybody else doing social media even doing stuff their own Facebook is problematical. They could yank their accreditation.
Oh, yes.
So we're not going to have anything from John officially and more. We're not going to have anything from him, it doesn't look like, until after the games. But he is going to clue me in, and then I'll pass along his reports on our Tuesday and Friday shows. And I am still noodling with Julia the idea that we will run a watch party on Zoom of some of the medal racing.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of it, because I think the medal racing is spread out. So there's a medal race. John and I went over this, but the one day is the RSX, the windsurfers, the windsurfer men and women. Another day is the Finn and the NACRA 17. Another day is the 470 men and women medal race. Another day is the, who am I forgetting? The laser men.
U.S.
and
Sailing
women.
is doing programs.
U.S. Sailing is not. They have the right to do some tweeting or something.
Oh.
But this is World Sailing will be doing some things.
Excuse me.
Yeah, World Sailing will be doing some things, but also their hands are pretty tied too.
I was looking at their TV schedule and it looked pretty complete.
Well, they may be running some. They may be rerunning some of the live from, but I don't know. We'll have to go have a look at that. Emmett will know. But we're going to try to cover. You tell us which medal races. I'd really like to cover the NACRA and the Finn, because the Finn, as John says, is what's close to our heart here.
Right.
At Studio B, and I would like to cover the medal races for the NACRA and the Finn at least. You tell us what you'd really like to see. Maybe we cover the laser too, just because so many countries are involved. And again, we'll do like the America's Cup. We can't go on YouTube Live. We can't go on Facebook Live, but we can have a Zoom, cocktail party, a Zoom viewing party. And you all can tune into Zoom, and we'll just do it like this show, but instead of doing it publicly, it'll be privately on our Zoom. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we need to know which ones you want to watch.
Exactly. All right, now here's the video about, these are two of the Irish sailors, and it's a really nice video, also produced by World Sailing, featuring two of the cool sailors in the 49er class. And a Q&A.
Hi, Mimi. Sean Waddy-Love here. My role model, well, one of my role models would be Annalise Murphy. Obviously, winning the silver medal at 2016 was a great inspiration for us, and she's great to have around the base to get lots of insight and knowledge from her.
Hey, Rob here. My role model would probably be my granddad, who was a great sailor from Oyaku.
Would I rather be a billionaire or an Olympic sailor? I don't think, I guess being a billionaire, you have lots of money, so you can go and do loads of cool things, but it doesn't mean that you can get to go to the Olympics, because you'd still have to work really hard. So I think I'd probably still pick being an Olympic sailor, because I love my life and I love what I get to do. And it isn't, to do with money, it's doing my passion. So I'd go Olympic sailor.
What motivates me to go training is, I don't actually know sometimes, but I just go anyway. Our coach, people around us who are encouraging us.
I think what motivates me when I don't feel like going training is just to remember how fortunate we are to get out on the water, especially during these times, and just go out, have fun, hang out with all your friends, enjoyable sport. Luckily I haven't lost too many boots, but one thing I do lose is a lot of caps. We constantly have Matt McGovern, our coach. He'll be driving behind the rig picking up caps, and then in our spares bag we must have 4 or 5 caps just in case.
Hey everyone from the George. I have lost some boots. I had a bunch of pairs of boots that I was going through, and then finally when I got to the last pair of boots I only had one boot left. So that was a bit of a dilemma.
And my favourite type of sailing boat is probably the foiling moth. I love sailing it.
See that?
You go so
Put
fast.
the moth in the Olympics.
And you just have so much fun. And then watching sailing, I'm really enjoying watching Sail GP and the F50s, the foiling catamarans that they're sailing. It's such exciting racing, seeing the 8 boats battle it out, and I'm enjoying the whole series so far this year. But for me personally, sailing, definitely the foiling moth.
Have you ever seen a wave bigger than me?
Have you ever seen a what?
Wave.
A
Yes,
wave.
we've definitely seen
Bigger
waves
than me?
bigger than you. I think in Japan, in Hiroshima, where we're going to do the Olympics, I'd say the waves are maybe 10 times the height of you.
I liked the idea of kids from clubs around the country asking questions, on Instagram or on something, and then they taking the questions and answering them. And as Emmett will tell you, and John Emmett and anybody else, the most important thing in producing a video is not the video, it's the
people.
Audio. If the audio is not correct, if our audio is not correct, you'll turn it off.
Yeah.
Well, somebody will tell us, but it'll if it's cutting in and out, if it's crappy, you won't stay here for more than 30 seconds. It's just too intolerable. If the video's a little crap, as that show when our color controls our camera control was Crutonic a couple 3 weeks ago, you'll stay here and watch it when I look like like I'm blue, because the color, I can change my color balance right now. Watch this. If I look like, you probably think I look better. So if I look like that, you're not probably gonna blast off. You probably tolerate that until we get it, fixed back up. But audio. So if you're shooting these things, if you're just shooting it with an iPhone, fine. But you've got to get it right up in their face, close to them, so the audio. Cup your hand around the end of the phone that's got the microphone in it, and don't do it in a windy locale. You heard all that wind noise, because you can't, at least I couldn't hear it in my little earbud. Maybe you could hear it, Julie, in your good headphones. Number one. Number two, if you're doing it with a proper camera, with a DSLR or mirrorless camera, you got to have a good microphone on top of it. A shotgun mic, when they make these, they're not expensive. Mounted the camera, you get up close to them so the shotgun mic is picking up that audio. And better yet, as you see John Emmett doing, he's got not one but 2 different Sennheiser microphones with a dead kitty, they call it, a dead cat, or a wind muff right on top of it, and it makes the audio much better. So you can all do that. The kids know this. Find some YouTuber in your club that's doing this, and be sure the audio is correct. Okay, enough of that. Let's go to comments. Hamish Ross is saying Grateful Dead's last show was in 1995 too. Hamish, I almost put that in this day in history, because I know how many deadheads. The late great Harry Anderson, Commodore Harry Anderson, was a deadhead.
I know that.
Did you
Absolutely.
know that?
I did, but I never understood it.
We'd go over to his place for a cocktail before we were going to dinner or something, and he'd have a bunch of the URI kids. And he'd be playing Grateful Dead. Drove me nuts. I was never a deadhead.
No, I wasn't
Jazz
either.
fan. Shields Jody wants to know where the Baby Shark button is. Well, I think this is the closest one to the Baby Shark. We could put the Baby Shark on here too. Hamish, the historian, also saying the USS Thresher. You know what the Thresher was?
I saw the name, but I don't remember.
It was the first nuclear sub.
Oh, it was.
And it was the US's, and the thing, was it lost today or was it launched in 60 and then lost in 63, Hamish? But something like that. Stingray saying, so they get the condoms in the athletes' village, but no alcohol. Well, remember, the condoms are not for use in the village, they said. We reported, we broke that. No, you didn't break the news, but we covered that here on the show. The condoms were to take home as a good, HIV.
As a message.
And a message, yeah, right. What's the point? Stingray saying. Thank you, Clark Chapin. The singer was Roger Miller. That was somebody else made that comment. Yeah. Roger Miller, not Roger Williams. Okay, good. Is there a C and dub, a country and western music star now called Roger Williams? I don't know.
Roger Williams did sort of nice piano music backgrounds.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Bill Haynes, William Haynes, don't know if this is true, but heard the Japanese government is on the hook to the IOC for the loss in revenue from ticket sales. Ooh, is that right? Had you heard that, Julia?
No.
I hadn't either. But I think if for some reason the Japanese government were to cancel it, they'd be on the hook to the IOC for breach of contract and a whole lot of other stuff, because under that very onerous contract, host city agreement, only the IOC can call the games off, not the host city.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, there's all sorts of penalties, and God knows what the insurance provisions are. I think the song was called King of the Road. Yeah, everybody's back on that. I should have brought the guitar in here. Trailers for sale or rent. Room to let, rent 50 cents.
Yeah.
Gordon Smith, in Denmark, the supermarkets sell condoms and pregnancy test kits next to each other by the checkout. For some reason, it makes me laugh every time I see it. Gordon Smith's a hoot. Hamish Ross, the historian, Dr. Hamish Ross, says King Henry VIII married Anne of Cleves today. It didn't go well. No, it didn't. Andrew Pindar, John, did you just say that the Olympics Games is being held in a safe way?
Yes, he did.
Michael Gaber lost video. Okay, I don't know what happened. Somebody else has said that. Greetings from Sonoma, Don Lunabos. We're still going to go up and have wine with Don at some point.
Yes.
The Olympic Games have been rogered. Oh, you guys are making all sorts of dumb jokes here. Dumb jokes indeed. I was glad I managed to get a Danish man to speak to an English man, Emmett was saying. I don't know what that video is
because
about.
Because of the outcome of the soccer.
Oh, the soccer. Yeah, that was quite something. Everybody's following. We are too. Bob Goff, who is another guy who's, he's approaching 90, if not there, and a terrific sailor. His kid's a terrific sailor. Bob Goff down in Texas, one of the great spark plugs in our sport and has been for decades. It is perfect just to cover the whole period in the safest possible way. Lucas, Gordon Smith saying Lucas Moore was a young man in Valencia where Tom met Lucas's mother and father. Yeah, Anne-Marie and Stan Moore, they were on our team. Wonderful sailing family indeed. Okay, so that's another connection. It's great to see kids of kids. I mean, we were talking with Andy Rose and others about that, where we're now seeing, and Dave Perry, where we're seeing grandkids of people who are our age coming into the sport.
Yeah.
It's all about families.
Yes.
The sport is all about families. And
if you don't have one, it's a way to create one.
Well, true. Exactly right. I mean, for you didn't have any kids, right?
Nope.
None that you know of. That's what I always say.
Yes, I always
do. You have any kids? Yeah, I have. Meg, I have one that I know of. I won't use the rim shot or the sad trombone. I won't use it. Okay, I'm going to stop doing that. I've resisted. I've had this thing now for a couple months, or at least a month, and I've resisted using it.
Well, you have. That's a long time.
It's cretonic. Hopefully, World Sailing can earn enough to pay back the IOC. Yeah. Who else here? How are the crews responding to no practice or warm up? Jonathan Frank, it's a good question. John replied, John Emmett, saying, because they can't get there until late, and then they have the day after they get there, they got access to the boats, and the day after that they can splash the boats, and like the day after that they're racing. It's very short. They're on a very short fuse. How are the crews responding to no practice? Jonathan Frank's asking. Emmett says, same situation for everyone, makes it the fairest and maybe closest games for a long time. Interesting.
That might be true.
Huh? Yeah. Interesting comment.
Yeah.
Chris Exley, I agree. Finn and Nacre, they'd like us to do a watch party. 49er and the FX would also be interesting. It will be interesting to see whether Burling Tuke and Martina Grail repeat. So maybe we do the 49ers too, Julia, the 49er and 49er FX. Okay. Somebody look those dates up for us, would you please? When the medal races, John maybe knows off the top of his head. Emmett's also got an interview with those the Irish 49ers. Tom, if you put the Moths in the Olympics, which classes would you take out? I don't know, John, but as you keep saying, and I think John's right, there's got to be a cold, not cold-hearted, but a sit-down and a thorough strategic going over of the Olympic Games and the classes, what we're trying to do and why, and not have one of these shoot from the hips things like they did down where it comes in and they start voting for a class, this class or against that class, as they did down in Florida at the meetings in where was it? Sarasota, whenever it was.
Yeah.
Back in 2018. Kiter board foiling, Matthias Collins is saying.
Clark Chapin just.
He says that's the classes they would take out if they put the Moth in.
No, but he's given us the dates of the medal races.
Okay, good.
On a link.
What are they? Oh, on a link. Okay. Yeah. Pick the disciplines first, then pick the boats that best suit. Well, Gordon, that's what IYRU used to do. You'd pick the events or the disciplines, as they were called events. Then you say, okay, we're going to have a single-headed men's this and a single-headed women's dinghy. And then the next year, after a big debate, you would then choose the Europe or the Finn or the Laser or whatever it was. I hear Burling and Tuke are back up to speed. So that's Rob Fry. So there's some insider information because, of course, Rob's kid, Leonard Takahashi, and his crew, Ibu, they're Kiwis by now, but they're representing Japan legally in the Olympics, and they will be sailing for Japan in the 49er, and they're up training up. Rob, did they ever get back from Australia back to New Zealand, or is that Trans-Tasman bubble, the COVID bubble, it's closed, right? So they're having to go straight from northern.
I think we read that, yeah.
Isn't that right? Jody is saying no to the Moss in the Olympics, it'll kill the class. So there's a lot of argument, people saying that, and they're ridiculously expensive. Rob Fry saying, well, but what Olympic class is not ridiculously expensive when you get right down to it? And maybe it's got to be the one design Wasp instead of the Moth. But look at that thing we showed at Garda, and you see Slingsby there sailing for fun, and for Francesco Bruni, and Paul Goody. I mean, here are three of the best sailors in the sport, America's Cup and so on, sailing Moss for fun. And you just saw Annalisa Murphy saying same thing. Oh, I love the Moth.
Yeah.
Amazon sells inexpensive mics for phones. Yes, Mary Jude Szymanski. And sooner or later, we will do a seminar on here on how to do live streaming and we'll do the whole thing. We'll get Emmett to come on and tell us how he does his thing. Stingray saying, I've been watching tutorials about DAWs, digital audio workstations, and the emphasis on decent audio track recording is amazing. Yeah, and I won't bore you with all the processing we do to the audio here and how we have experimented with, you remember we use lapel mics and they're Crutonic. Television is okay because they're really expensive television mics in treated studios, and it's okay. And then, of course, I had that mic, that dynamic mic, which is still here. I use it for voiceover work. But now we've got here, recently, we've got and it's only about 8 inches from my mouth, and it's just out of shot. If you look on camera one, it's just right here, just out of the shot. So you can't see it. But and I don't really care if you do see it. You remember the old Johnny Carson show, and you could see the boom mic. But the point is that I can work here all day if I get a phone call from Emmett or for somebody, and we're using the system. But it's only a $150 mic only. Okay, it's not cheap, but it beats the hell out of a $650 or an $850 mic. And it gives you freedom to be a crouton and a buffoon with your hands and everything else if you want. We'll do some. Okay, let's get on here. The rich MNAs would be a big fan of the Moth being in. Smaller MNAs, no chance, but it's a moot point. Yeah, I think John's right. But maybe the Wasp. The Moth class has been clear they don't want to be Olympic. Well, I think that's right, and they don't want to.
It takes the fun out of it.
No, Clark Chapin is saying the Nautilus was the first nuclear sub, but the Thresher was the lead boat of her class. Okay. Yeah, I remember when she sank. Did they find her, Clark? First one to sink. Paul Homchick's echoing what Clark said. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Reaper DAW is what I plan to learn. Yeah, those DAWs with digital audio workstations. It's meaning you're using your computer to record audio. And there is some, you remember the old days of 2-track or 4-track or 8-track or 16-track, 32-track tape recorders. And you fed a microphone for each instrument and the singer onto the tracks, and you could change or you could record the orchestra and then play that back into the headphones, and the singer could listen to that and then sing to the orchestra already recorded. Well, that's now all done digitally, as Stingray and many of you know, on a computer, and you can have virtually as many tracks of audio in these DAWs, digital audio work. Julia just looked at her watch. That's a subtle signal. Get going, Tom. Okay, but you can see I get I like to nerd out here every now and then, Julia.
Yeah.
We've been here before. Japan cannot cancel it. And again, a moot point is definitely happening. Please let us all get behind it. We are behind it, but John, don't take it personally if somebody talks about it, because it's of concern. No phone, no pool, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. Jonathan Frank. Roger Miller. Right, not Roger Williams. Imagine this dyslexic people buys those two items. Well, two items. Condoms and I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
I like the Curtonic sound effect Stingray. Well, you know, Stingray, who is a juvenile at heart, you know, he still thinks he's sophomore in high school. He's a lot of fun. I've spent some time with Stingray up in Seattle and Anna Cortez. John Abbott, on what date do Burling and Tuke race? Yeah, I think we want to cover that. That's a good point. Kites are not expensive, just saying. Gordon Smith is saying, yeah. Okay, so Clark has given us the dates. July 31st is, so that's, you know, I think, am I down at Gov Cup then? See, we'll be doing Gov Cup, by the way, program note. Yeah, I will be. Gov Cup starts Monday the 26th. And we'll be covering the roast, the Monday night introduction of the teams live on Monday night 26th. I'll be doing the Tuesday the 27th show, our regular TFE live. And then we'll be doing, morning shows every morning at Gov Cup, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I won't do a Friday TFE live as usual, because then we are also doing live coverage of the semifinals and finals on Friday and Saturday. So we do live coverage on Friday and Saturday is the 31st. So we won't be able, we might be able to, we won't be able to, because then we cover the press conference. So sorry, the 31st is out. We will not be able to cover the RSX men's and women's on the 31st. Well, we weren't really planning to cover it. Laser and Laser Radio on August 1st. Will I be back here? Probably will be, but in no position to be live streaming probably on that Sunday, because I won't get back up here from Balboa, Julia.
No.
The 2nd, which is the Monday, we could do the 49er and the FX. So let's plan on that on Monday the 2nd. You up for that?
Of
August.
Of August. We'll
do Monday the 2nd, we'll do a watch party for the 49er and the 49er FX. And then on the 3rd, now see, the 2nd is really the 1st here. Right, Clark? So it's actually the 1st. Finn and the Knacker, which is on the 3rd, will be on the 2nd here, so we can do that. And it looks like maybe the August 3rd, which will be on our August 2nd, we'll do the Finn and the Knacker watch party. That may be the only one we do. Mm-hmm. Emmett always promoting. He is such a promoter of the ILCA. It's the affordable class. Oh, I agree. I think that's widely distributed. And just because it's not the most modern class, it's 50 years old, you got to keep the laser. People are arguing about, once again, they're arguing about Olympic classes. Ed Worley, yes, they found the thresher. She sank because of mechanical failure of the dive systems. Chris Exley's giving us the dates. Yeah, but again, the 49er and the FX are on Monday the 2nd, which is, what time is that? Hey, Siri, what time is it in Tokyo?
It's 6:13 in Tokyo, Japan.
So it's 06:13. They're plus 16 hours to us. So if they're racing in the afternoon, which would be about, what time do the races start, John Emmett? It'd be 6 hours or so from now, which would be 10 o'clock. 14 plus 6 would be 20. It'd be 8 o'clock at night our time. We might be able to do that. Might be able to do it. Julia.
Peter Taylor says, I'm assuming that you have issues as Facebook seems not to be live.
Right now?
Yeah, 1:19.
I show us live. Do you show it live on your screen, Julia? I
yes.
show it live here.
Yeah, I show it live too.
Yeah, I show it live, Peter. So maybe we did struggle to get onto, but no, we're on Facebook on the Sailing Illustrated page live. I show it on my Integrity, and Julia does too on her stream Integrity. Emmett is saying, I see the results of some of the high-performance boats being almost decided by the medal race. Yeah, that's a shame. That whole medal race is Kurtonic. But that's another issue. It's tough when you have to explain your jokes. Some of the dates will change. I think some of the dates will change, John Emmett is saying. Okay, circa 1300 racing. Yeah, you're live on FB. Circa 1300 racing. So, yeah, it'll be in the evening. So we could probably do then the Monday racing Sunday night here. And the Monday is the ones we want. It's the FX. It's the 49er and the 49er FX.
Well, and let's, instead of sort of leaving it up in the air, let's really look and then
well, we will, and we'll talk about it on the next Tuesday's show. But I'm just thinking out loud, and with the help of everybody, it sounds like they want us to do a watch party for the 49 and the 49er FX, which is on the 2nd, which would be for our Sunday night at approx 2000. We'll have to go back and adjust that. So let's do that on Sunday night. I'll come back up from Balboa Yacht Club, put the studio back together, and we'll try to go live that night with a watch party. Are you up for that?
Yep.
Sunday night? Okay. Good.
I think.
You think. Remember, the weather may well alter. Yeah, okay, but I think the medal races, they're going to stick to that medal race schedule, John, because they've got network television coverage and on and on and on. So they might, we'll see. Correct or Kurtonic? The Jody Shields Memorial segment. Of course, Jody's alive and with us.
Yes.
And as usual, today as well.
Yes.
Now, I promise to be gentle with this segment. You know who that is?
Yes.
That is the new, reasonably new, he's a couple, 3 months now in the seat, new U.S. Sailing CEO, Alan Ostfield. He's the non-sailing CEO hired by U.S. Sailing to take over. And yesterday, U.S. Sailing issued this video of Mr. Ostfield after he took a 1-hour sailing lesson.
Hi, I'm Alan Ostfield, CEO of U.S. Sailing. Just had my first sailing lesson here at Sail Newport. We took a J22 out. Had a great coach and Hall of Famer Betsy Allison, and Nancy and Karen were with us, and it was a beautiful day on the water, and I learned how to sail, and who doesn't like sailing? It was beautiful out here.
So who doesn't like sailing? It was beautiful out here, and apparently now they're running this because there was criticism, and not just from us. And we promised to say, let's give the guy a chance and let's see how he goes, and we're still going to do that. The non-sailing CEO is now a sailor after an hour's lesson at the esteemed Sail Newport in a J22 with Betsy Galvanitis Allison. I don't know. I'm not sure I would have released that video. And then I heard from some of the staff who said, please don't run this. Please don't run that video. We can't believe that got posted. It was posted on their Facebook page yesterday, and several of you, Fozy, sent it to us and said, don't tell us we sent it to you. Now, at least the guy you would have thought would have a U.S. Sailing hat on, or a Sail Newport hat, or a U.S. Sailing shirt, or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he's actually going out and trying to learn to be a sailor, which full marks to him.
I was going to say better than never having done it.
Yeah, exactly. But, I'm not sure I would claim to be a hockey player after an hour's lesson at the arena or an hour's lesson anywhere. But at least he's out there doing it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But wait, there's more. Yesterday, U.S. Sailing posted on their website job specs for 2 new senior jobs.
Oh, yeah.
The Senior Vice President of Corporate Partnerships and the Senior Vice President of Memberships, reporting to the CEO and part of the executive leadership team, are the key additions to our team that will help us fulfill our mission as the national governing body for sailing. If you're interested, apply. So if any of you are interested in those jobs, you can apply, but it begs several questions. Now you're going to have a Senior Vice President's the title on the staff. Heretofore, the staff have been the CEO or the executive director, and then you had the director of this or the senior director, whatever. And you had a president who was the lead volunteers, Corey Sertle, our longtime friend. And then you had a vice president who was the heir apparent to move up. And then you had a secretary and a treasurer and a board, as you do. But now the staff are going to have 2 main positions, senior vice presidents, 1 senior vice president of corporate partnerships and senior vice president of memberships. So I asked Madam President, today. I texted Corey, and she very politely and almost immediately texted me back, thank you for your interest in these posted roles and helping spread the word to potential candidates, which we're doing. The positions posted are senior staff leadership positions that will play a big role in the future. No changes in titles. To help clarify the role of president, we propose as part of the continuing bylaw updates to more formally refer to the president of U.S. Sailing as president, chairman of the board, to avoid confusion regarding staff roles and volunteer roles. So it sounds to me like the CEO, Mr. Ostfield, is going to become the president. And it sounds like he's now got 2 senior vice presidents reporting to him, and the volunteers are going to be the chair and the vice chair. I don't know. It's what it sounds like from Corey's very kind text that she sent just before we went to air. But it's strange because also I heard from 3 staff members and 1 member of the board saying, you're not going to believe this. And they had not heard it until it got posted. So no one consulted the other staff. Nobody knows who's reporting to whom now. They see these 2 big new positions coming in, and apparently it was done from top down. I don't know. In any event, I don't know if you think, and I really don't even need you to ask, but I could have posted this anywhere. Is this correct or Crutonic? Again, I want to be gentle. I want to hope and assume that U.S. Sailing is going to do the right thing, that this is all going to work out. But I'm not optimistic after what we're seeing and the fact they didn't consult the staff. They get this management consultant firm, Julia McKinsey, in, and they start suddenly professionalizing the thing. And it looks to me like we're going down the same road that World Sailing went down with multiple CEOs in Crutonicism.
They need to start growing from the bottom up.
Bottom up. So it looks now that we're going to have the president and chairman, U.S. Sailing's Corey Sertle, who finishes her term this year. And the heir apparent is the vice president, whose name is Rich Jepson. He's here from the Bay Area, but maybe he's now going to be the vice chairman and soon to be chairman. I don't know. But enough said. Is it correct or Crutonic? And Clark Chapin, that answers the question you heard from Corey. Anybody got a comment? Then I will take the job, Peter Taylor said. Good Ed Worley, good start for him. He needs to go out and go racing and get a better perspective. Yes. I wouldn't claim to be having learned to sail and say, oh, this is a great sport. You know, who wouldn't like this after an hour in the water in a J22 at Sail Newport? Not that that's not a great place to learn to sail. It is, no doubt. Julia.
I just give him a little break because he's at least trying.
You are forever kind and polite, and you're right. And that's why we're not going to say anything more than this and just ask you what you think. Stingray saying, seems like another candy hunt. Not Andy Hunt, candy hunt. I don't know. I don't know. There's so many very fine senior managers who are also experienced veteran racing sailors who would have loved to go on to Newport, like, you know, any number of people that did the job. But we'll see. Hopefully the guy's great. Hopefully these 2 new hires are going to be great. They're going to be expensive, no doubt. Senior vice presidents. Never had that before on the staff. Julia, anything else? I think he should spend a day in a week in a boat, Gordon Smith is saying. Clark is saying, I'm with Julia. Yeah, well, as usual. Keep the organization lean. There are lots of volunteers that have the business chops to raise money and garner support. Ed Worley is saying it's Crutonic. I mean, it's becoming another head. You got a high-paid CEO. You're going to have 2 senior vice presidents. The staff goes out now and runs events, like the event going on down in Long Beach right now, which is an Olympic classes regatta. It used to be run by the clubs. One volunteer committee chair or maybe a couple committee chairs would show up. Maybe no staff at all. The staff would stay home and write the press releases over the phone or by fax back in the day. And now the staff goes to the venue and runs the event rather than the locals. You should hear all the grousing I'm hearing about from Long Beach right now about that. And Julie, this has been your life.
Oh yeah, I know.
So you know. Peters Taylor, get the CEO on a match 40 with Dave Perry. I think his staff told him 30 minutes. Oops, may have that backwards. Okay, enough of that. Here's some interesting news in the Americas. I'm not sure it's any surprise either. Nothing today a big surprise. You see who that is. Francesco Bruni.
Oh, yes.
was interviewed in the Italian media, and Duncan Johnstone of Stuff.co.nz picked this up. Big headline, Luna Rossa star Francesco Bruni blasts Grant Dalton over America's Cup delays. Luna Rossa star Francesco Bruni is hit out at Team New Zealand boss Grant Dalton over the America's Cup hosting delays and their impact on the stalled Italian syndicate. The next venue for the 37th edition of the Cup may not be known until September 17th, which, as you all know, is when the protocol said that's the deadline by when. It may be before that. With Team New Zealand weighing up their options as they look to fund their champion outfit through this crucial and lucrative venue decision. Having spurned a $99 million Kiwi offer from the New Zealand government and Auckland, meaning the central government and the city of Auckland, the defenders are now reviewing overseas options thought to include Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Not so sure about Asia, but certainly Europe and the Middle East. If, quote, if I were Dalton, even if I didn't have the highest budget, I'd rather lose the Cup honorably at home than defend her elsewhere, Bruni said in an interview to Sail to You broadcast of the Italian outfit OA Sport. Quote, I find it hard to understand how a nation like New Zealand accepts that the Cup goes elsewhere. I find it hard to justify Dalton because the government has offered him $100 million. It will not cover the entire budget, but it is a help, the greatest help they have received from the government. Patrizio Bertelli, Luna Rossa CEO, the quote continues, Luna Rossa's owner, CEO, reiterated his desire to do the Cup again, and this is the important thing because nothing happens without him, unquote, Bruni explained to OA Sport. Quote, the thing that blocks the operations is that the New Zealanders have not yet told us where, how, and when. So it's not easy to keep a team of over 100 people running with promises and quayside discussions. Key in the English, K if you are elsewhere, and dockside, as we would say in the States. Dockside discussions, it takes something else. Quote, Max Serena, Luna Rossa skipper and sailing manager, director, is trying to keep the most important nucleus together and build a group of designers capable of winning the Cup. There is the will to start as soon as possible, Francesco concluded, pleading for, quote, the New Zealanders to get a move on, unquote. Luna Rossa was the challenger of record, as you all know, at 2021 at Auckland a few months ago, and eventually sailed against TNZ in the match, losing 7-3. So you heard Terry Hutchinson's lament he did a long interview on Sailing World, the Sailing World magazine here in this country. He also did an interview here with St. Francis Yacht Club's Wednesday Yachting Luncheon, saying in a much gentler way all that you heard there. But man, Francesco Bruni in this piece that was picked up by Duncan Johnstone, stuff.co.nz, and run yesterday. That's pretty tough, hard words, don't you think, Julia?
Yes.
What's your reaction?
Well, I keep thinking the guys who are making that decision don't have 100 people unpaid on their staff that they have to.
Well, you heard Terry Hutchinson also say that he's losing people, and I know that he lost one of his senior members of the design team, who I have a lot of respect for, and is a good friend. I'm not going to name him, but he has left to go to Sail GP as one of the lead technical guys in Sail GP because, of course, these people have to keep their families fed,
right?
And the money coming in, and this is always the problem with the Cup that gets built up, happens, and then torn down. Built up. But then, as one of my hockey coaches said, life is just a series of peaks and valleys. Never more so than in the America's Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Stingray. If Stingray likes it, it's a good reason not to do it, because as I say, he is so sophomore. What are your comments? Clark Chapin used coarse language.
Yes.
You want to read that? And wave your finger?
I can do it. With the risk of drawing...
Do it again. I didn't get cut to you, and there you go.
Yeah. At the risk of drawing a Julia Wedekind figure wag, take a dump or get off the pot. Oh.
At least he made that a little politer.
Yes.
Because, it was the German word Scheisse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether Scheisse or get off the pot is the more vernacular, right?
Yeah.
Well, we won't. Any AC delays benefit Ineos and ETNZ, Ed Worley is saying, which of course is correct. Aussies win the F-18 Worlds. Good. Okay, no surprise. And who was that, Jody? Was that who was driving? Who was steering? Stingray, Peter Selwyn's, it's not a case of losing in NZ versus winning somewhere else. That's a false dichotomy. They could also win at home again. Yes, they could. And I suspect they're more I've made that prediction. And I stand by it. I think they'll lose if they run it offshore. You don't agree with me, though.
Well, no, I really just think they ought to keep it there.
I think it's like Oracle going to Bermuda.
Yes, which is unforgivable.
And it was unforgivable. And, of course, Oracle then lost in Bermuda 2017. And if the Kiwis go offshore, I think they stand a substantial chance of losing.
Yeah.
My prediction. What do I know? I'm just a simple country boy from Michigan. What else? Mitch Booth and his son, Jody Shields, is saying, okay, congrats. I had a lot of time for Mitch, too. There's a cool dude in our sport, if ever there was one. Congratulations to them. Okay, let's do the road to the Gov Cup. We told you we had another segment, actually our 4th episode, but I want to thank, first of all, Jack Egan, who sat in an interview on Monday, and we ran on Tuesday's show. And then we've got the young Danish sailor coming up that we told you about at the top of the show. And his name is Emil Kjær, is how that's pronounced more or less in Danish. Gordon Smith will correct me, who is a cool young member and now a seriously good match racer representing KDY, the Royal Danish Yacht Club. And we'll keep doing these as we count down to the Gov Cup the last week of July. Have a look at this one. It's about 15 minutes long. Enjoy. Oh, look at me. Okay, well, welcome to the 4th edition of the Road to the Governor's Cup. Gov Cup, of course, is the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship, been going on for 54 years, hosted by the Balboa Yacht Club down in Newport Beach, California. And I'm delighted to have with us, as usual, our Gov Cup guru, Andy Rose, on the left, and via Zoom, as well from Copenhagen, one of this year's competitors, first-time competitor in the Gov Cup, Emil Kjær from Copenhagen, from Denmark, the KDY. Welcome, guys. Andrew, take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Well, it's great to be here. And Emil, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's getting a little late in the evening. You probably have something a lot more fun to do, but hopefully this will be a little bit of fun. Emil is not the first, the first actually Danish team, I believe, to sail in the Governor's Cup. This year, I think you know this, Emil, we've had, normally we have quite a few Australians and New Zealanders, and this year we had invited 2 teams from Great Britain, and none of them are able to come. It's not so much that they couldn't come, it's that they couldn't go home without a long quarantine, etc. So, but we've made up for that by having 3 European teams, you from Sweden, Marius Westerlund from Sweden, you from Denmark, and then the first time ever from metropolitan France, Timothée Paulet is going to join us. So that's good stuff. And then the rest will all be Americans. But let's talk about you for a second here. Your request for invitation was pretty impressive. So I've already anointed you one of the favorites to win. You sailed a lot of the Grade 2 regattas. How long have you actually been match racing?
Well, it's been on and off for quite a while, but I'd say probably for about 2 or 3 years as like in consecutive with this team.
Great. Well, that's quite a record. I see in Stettin you got 3rd. You have podium finishes in the 3 that you listed on your request for invitation, and that's pretty impressive. So it'll be interesting. It's always interesting the Governor's Cup puts together match racers from all over the world. And it's really fascinating to see the skill levels. By the end of the regatta, the nice thing about it, it's a double round robin, and then semifinals and finals. And, by the end, everybody's pretty good. So we've had a number of people that have started slowly and come in late, but I have a feeling you may start fast and finish fast here. In match racing, I've always sort of thought there's like 5 important ingredients, starting the ability to maneuver, tack, needing good tacks, speed, of course, post-start tactics, and crew work. Have you sailed with your team for some time, the crew that you're bringing?
Yeah. I think one of our strong things about my team is that we've been together for quite a while. We've been sailing with the same team for about 2 or 3 years.
Wow, great.
And for a really long time. So we basic maneuvers and all that.
Are you? Would you call yourself a really good and aggressive starter?
I think, to be honest, I think we as a team are evolving quite a bit into being a bit more passive, or at least being a bit more secure in our way of sailing. We have a really good coach, Joachim Massenbrenner, who's doing
I was going to bring up Joachim.
Yeah.
Joachim has made quite a splash here in California over the last.
I did my best to bring him along. It's not possible.
Is he coming?
No, I did my best. He's not coming, unfortunately.
Oh, God. Well, he's a piece of work. I love him. He's a great guy, and boy, I've never seen him not smiling. So.
Hey, Andy, haven't we also had another day recently? Jeppe Borsch, is that right?
Oh yes, Jeppe. Yeah, Jeppe sailed a couple of years ago. Yeah, we have. So sorry, with 54 years, I sometimes don't quite remember all the complete history, even more recent history. But at any rate, are you? So you must, think you're pretty fast, basically, because if you're, that obviously speed very often will beat tactics.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speed makes your tactics look very good, right?
Yeah. What have you sailed a boat like the boats behind me and on my background there are the Governor's Cup 22s? They're pretty lively. They only weigh about 2,200 pounds or something like that. They will plane in a breeze. Not that we have generally that much breeze here, but big, tall, flat top rig and all that. Have you sailed similar boats, fairly light keel boats like this?
Yeah. I think we sail some pretty similar boats. I think we normally use the J70s back home in Copenhagen. They're probably a bit heavier, but it's somewhat still a pretty small boat. And you still have the almost stinky feel to it. And then this weekend we actually went to the other part of Denmark to sail some boats that are really similar to the boats we're going to race at the Governor's Cup.
Right.
To do good training for it. So I think the small boat suits us pretty well, and we all of us are dinghy sailors originally. So I think we should be good in the small boats.
That makes a big difference. Do you have how many people are you sailing with in this? 3 or 4?
Three people.
3 people. Does anybody help you? Like as we discussed in the last one. If you have a tactician type or somebody that's helping with tactics at the starts, by the time the tactician would say something, it's too late. So skippers really have to do, their own starts. Once you're on the, starting up the leg though, do you have somebody that says, I think we should tack here, or do they just tell you what's going on around you?
Yeah, we're doing it pretty structured. So we have some guys calling, like every time we meet a boat, every time we cross a boat, we'll have a guy call which side of the boat we prefer to be on, and then I'll just try and put us in that position. So we always try and do as much as possible so that I don't have to do too much else than just steering the boat.
I think that's incredibly wise, but I'm a little bit prejudiced because I'm a tactician by trade. So I think that's great. But it has worked for me, and a lot of, as a tactician, we won a couple congressional cups and a bunch of things, and it does. If the skipper and tactician trust each other, what I've always said is that I may be saying something to them, but they're already really doing it. In other words, that's what they were going to do anyway if you sail together long enough. And it sounds like for the last 2 or 3 years with the same crews, you're going to have a big advantage here. I think it's some tough competition, but you're going to start out. You're definitely one of the favorites. So we'll put a big.
Hey, Andy, let me jump in here and ask Emil if he knows who this gentleman is. Also named Emil, and Emil, his nickname was Bus. Emil Bus Mossbacher. He's long gone now, but he was a great sailor, fast Commodore of the New York Yacht Club. 1922 to 1997 was his lifespan, but he is also a two-time winner of the America's Cup. There aren't very many of those around. Dennis Conner, Pete Burling, Russell Coots, Commodore Mike Vanderbilt. Commodore Mossbacher won in what, Andy? 64 on Weatherly and 67 on Intrepid. Did you ever hear about this gentleman? You're not by any chance named after him, are you, Emil?
I wish I could say that I was, but I never heard of him before, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you have such a rich sailing tradition. It wouldn't have surprised me because you the great sailing tradition that you have in Denmark. Obviously, the late great Paul Elvstrom, right up to your Crown Prince, to Freddie, Crown Prince Frederick, whom I know from the Far 40 world and from your club KDY, judging there and sailing there and so on. But what a wonderful tradition in your relatively small country. What are there, 6-7 million people?
Yeah, 5.8.
Well, there was also this Elvstrom guy.
Well, that's what I said, and Paul Elvstrom. And what an amazing history and tradition for your sport in a relatively small country. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I think we have a lot of coast in Denmark compared to the size of our country. That might mean a thing. But it's always been quite a lot of sailing in Denmark. You know, sailing is the sport that Denmark has the most Olympic medals in.
Really?
Which is quite nice for.
I didn't know that. The U.S. used to get medals in sailing in the Olympics back in the day. But we have a new director of that program, Paul Kayard, who America's Cup veteran and a good friend. I've sailed with him when we were kids, and I think the U.S. will be back here in a few years under Paul's leadership. But yeah, we're very excited, needless to say, to have you come with us. You also get a week off, and then you're sailing in another little unimportant regatta. What's that?
Yeah, a little unimportant regatta. Yeah. We're going to do the Youth Worlds right after the Governor's Cup in the same boats and with the same setup, I imagine.
Yeah, a lot of the same competition.
Yeah, I could imagine. So it's great for us to be able to come and do two events in a row. And I imagine that the Governor's Cup will just make the level even higher for the Youth Worlds, the training before it.
I think so. In normal years, if we had the New Zealanders and the Aussies here, for the Governor's Cup, we are not limited to one or two teams per country, and so we can sort of pick the best. Yeah. But the Governor's Cup generally is going to have tougher competition than the Worlds. This year, probably not. I mean, it's probably the same because so many of the sailors are sailing in both. And you have our two top U.S. sailors, David Wood and Jeffrey Peterson, who will be sailing in both against you. And so I think you'll enjoy them not only as human beings. Did you go to one of the Australian or New Zealand regattas?
We went to the Youth Worlds in New Zealand.
In New Zealand. So the American team was Jack Parkin, who is a great guy at Stanford. I went to the same school that he's just graduating from, and great guy. Well, Jeffrey and David are a little younger than Jack, but I think they're 19 and 20 respectively. But you'll find them pretty tough. They know their way around a match race for sure. So have you sailed against Marius or Timote? Did you do like I'm not as familiar, and we should get familiar, but there's a Eurosaf youth match racing championship, right? That was just held.
Yeah, I think so. The French Timo Paulet, I think, just won it.
Yes.
So he'll be coming for the Governor's Cup as well, I think. But we didn't come for the event. But we sailed against Marius and the Swedish team as well sometimes. And he's originally a 29er sailing who's doing some match race as well, and I think he's doing pretty well. He's sailing quicker on the race course.
So is he? I mean, will you beat him easily or?
Yeah, you never know. I think if he gets off in the start, he might be quick.
Yeah.
If he can pretend that it's fleet racing and just do his own stuff, I think he'll be pretty quick around the race course.
Well, on the last interview we did, I mentioned there's a guy, Nevin Snow, who is now doing an Olympic campaign, but Nevin won the Governor's Cup twice. And I think, as I said, he would, if you asked him, he would admit that he said, no, I'm not, there are probably other starters, people that can do match race starting and maneuvering better, but he says, we concentrate on going really fast. And going really fast won him two Governor's Cups. So the courses are not terribly long, as is the custom now in match racing. But they're enough. They're long enough that you can leg out on a boat a little bit. And there are some shifts in the conditions here, but they're not. If it's a southerly, there's going to be some shifts, which makes it interesting, but not the if you sailed on the Great Lakes of America, not the 40 and 50 degree shifts. There'll be a little 10-degree shift here and there. If it's a southwesterly or westerly, it doesn't shift much at all. It's just a really nice sailing breeze. You can see in the background there, sort of a short chop. That was a year that we had pretty big breeze for us, meaning like 18, 19 knots. But generally, you're going to sail in 8 to 14, something like that. But the boats were designed specifically so that you can, if it's only blowing 5 knots, you can still have an effective race. They're fast in that stuff. So a lot of sailing. So what about, let me ask you one last question about boats and match racing. Are you in the match races you've been sailing on, are the spinnakers symmetrical or ASOs?
We've been doing both. I think we've been doing most of symmetrical spinnakers. We have the DS37 boats, some pretty big match racing boats that's been used for a lot of World Tour events and so on, which is just great for match racing. So we try and use them as much as possible. And they have a big symmetrical spinnaker.
Great. Yeah, Dave Perry, who is a 5-time United States match racing champion, when we were building these boats, I knew what his answer would be, but I asked him, ASOs or symmetrical? He says symmetrical. It's a match race. You've got to have symmetrical spinnakers. And frankly, as a tactician, I fully understand that. I think it makes for better racing and closer racing. And everybody likes a close race.
Andy, down to Newport Beach, and thank you very much, Emil, coming live, both of you via Zoom, live to tape. This will air on our Friday TFE Live. And I just want to thank you both for another very interesting segment. Just one final question to Emil. Are you familiar with the Monday night introduction of the teams that Andy does under the big tent in front of 300 club members, and we live stream it to the world? Have you heard about that, Emil?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it from the other Danish team doing events. Not much.
Okay, Andy's smiling, but you want to be prepared for that, and maybe with a comeback or two, because he's very good at introducing everybody and then usually making a few jokes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And we try to embarrass you as much as possible.
Yeah, I'll be preparing. I'll be looking forward to it.
No, don't worry about it. It's a fun evening, and as I've always said, Tom knows this. The Governor's Cup is like my second Christmas week, because sailors like you from all over the world coming in, it just renews your faith in the sport and, frankly, in the world. And so we're excited to have you, and look forward to seeing you in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, we really look forward to it. We heard a lot about the event, and it's so great to finally be doing it. I think as a match racer, you're always maybe missing a bit of events, so it's great. I think we just have to be really, really happy for an event like the Governor's Cup for us to do.
Well, I'm sorry you're not bringing Joachim, but
Yeah.
But he's funnier than I am, so that probably wouldn't be very good.
Andy, we should import him just for good.
We should,
as a sidekick. Yeah. In fact, he could take over for me on the live commentary, because he's hilarious and very good. Andy, Emil, thank you very much. And we'll look forward to seeing you both down in Newport Beach at Balboa Yacht Club in a couple of weeks. Okay, that was the end. I should have done that scary audio thing with that face that I started up on. I didn't realize when I got Road to the Governor's Cup. That's our 4th segment. Thank you, Andy Rose and Emil. Looking forward to meeting him in person in 3 weeks' time. Nice comments. He does, Gordon Smith. He should make you and your country proud, because the kid is obviously bright and attractive and articulate. And from everything I'm hearing, he's a hell of a good sailor. So we'll look forward to meeting. Gordon's saying, yeah, Emil sails in a very rich and deep sailing environment. And Stingray was impressed as well. And yeah, Gov Cup will be fun. We'll do a lot of live coverage, our usual stuff. Denise Peterson, whose son Jeffrey is sailing in the Gov Cup, one of the American entries. Emil has raced against Jeffrey at the Warren Jones Regatta in Perth. Again, those of you joining late, there are no down under entries this year because of COVID. There's no British team. And Andy worked really hard to try to get one of the kids from the UK who was accepted, who was invited, accepted, and applied and accepted. But because of COVID and wanting to get back and be able to sail in Cows Week and not having to be quarantined at one end or the other or both, I don't know how it all works. So COVID is still influencing us, and we'll do another Road to the Gov Cup next week. I'm not sure about Tuesday, but for sure on Friday's show. We'll look forward to it. Julia, about to wrap this one up. Anything else? Gordon Smith is saying, you see that comment?
Which one?
Emil should be pretty happy with the water in the boats.
Oh,
the
yeah.
DS-37 he mentions is a fantastic boat.
Yeah.
To match race in.
Yes, which is good.
I think Andy's right though. It does give you some faith, confidence in the future. At least these kids we get on here and we see sailing in these events, and those Opti kids and everybody. What a great sport we have.
Indeed.
We're so lucky. We're lucky for all. Go ahead.
Krasimir Naumov said, I miss the IACC boats. If they can bring that back, please.
The big monohulls for the America's Cup. Yeah, well, a lot of people miss them, and even the big old lead mines, the 12s.
Yes.
We have a great group of FOSI, too, who send us stuff, including this one. We have one entry today for today's Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Apropos of all the discussion we've had about kites and getting their wires crossed and so on and so forth, this was a funny TikTok. You got to watch that again. This is courtesy of our FOSI James Bland out in Texas, who must be watching TikToks all the time to have found this. Maybe not. You know, as I've told you, I'm addicted to YouTube videos. I don't watch regular TV hardly at all anymore, but I'll come and watch YouTube videos on any topic to learn, whether it's about sailing or to put the show together. But YouTube videos are fabulous. I can't quite get into TikTok, which are these little 10, 12-second ironic, funny thing, and the kids are dancing and so on. But, you know, it's fun. This kind of stuff is fun. Thanks, James Bland. Appreciate it very much. There were a lot of comments. I think that came on the sailing. It was also in the sailing Facebook group, the Facebook group called Sailing. And the finish line, we need to put some music with the finish line. We got to have some kind of a theme for that. And maybe we just put, thank God they're done. Even Julia and Tom are finally to the finish line. Yes. And two things for your consumption. One is not the Tasmanian Devils, but the beauty and elegance of the Dragon class this weekend will once again, they missed last year because of the bloody COVID, but the Tasmanian Dragons are back in action. The Dragon class will be on show on the River Derwent this weekend as crews compete in the Tasmanian International Dragon Class Championship 2021. The two-day regatta hosted by the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania marks the return of the annual event, which was canceled in 2020. Yeah, they're yada, yada, yada. They're going to be down a little bit in terms of numbers, but they've got people from Western Oz and East, everywhere in between. And I have never been to this regatta, but I've heard a lot about it. And by all accounts, it's just, like the Etchells class and the Dragon class in Australia is just like it is in a lot of parts of the world. It's just terrific, former Olympic class, and just going from strength to strength. Bravo Zulu, the beauty and elegance of the Tasmanian. Look at that picture. Fantastic class of boats. The Tasmanian Dragons, not the Devils, Julia. Finally, one other thing is this showed up, and thanks to Stingray who sent this to me just before we went there. I managed to squeeze it in. Mainstream media, the state newspaper in the state of Wisconsin, Wisconsin State News, I think it's called, Watch Now Ran. And there was a little video that went along with this and a nice article with photos about the Escow Regatta this weekend in Lake Mendota, which is in downtown Madison. It's the state capital, but it's where University of Wisconsin, the Hoofers, also sail. Beautiful big lake and a lot of sailing. And the Escows will be racing there this weekend in the ILYA, the Inland Lake Yachting Association Escow Championship on Lake Mendota. And this nice mainstream, I won't read all this. It's all, stuff, all obvious stuff to all of you, except that it is a terrific class and a terrific event. And the ILYA and Scout, we run scow sailing from up there in the upper Great Lakes down through the mid part of the country, even to the East Coast on Barnegat Bay, and even down to Texas. The scows are fantastic lake boats. For sailing, that is pretty fast. Tim Sugar, 20 miles an hour is pretty fast. Co-chair of this year's competition, which bills the Invitational as, quote, the most exciting sailboat racing you will find anywhere.
Really?
And, you know, it's not far off the mark because those, especially the E-Scow, well, the A-Scow too, they're just terrific boats. They're mostly family sailing. You get friends and family. Look at this family here competing. And so much so that the mainstream media in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin State Journal, picked this up in an article by Gail Warland. Nice ink. And thanks, Stingray, for forwarding that. Finally, from Ted Ryman, down in Cape Town, stores are closing early on Sunday because
the
match. The football match, a.k.a. soccer. And we thought about doing a watch party here just because so many of you are interested in it, are keen for it. But we want to watch it and relax ourselves, which we are going to do, and enjoy our Sunday. We'll be watching with all of you. Who is going to win on Sunday? Who is going to win? Jonathan Frank put the U.S. Sailing CEO on a scow. Sailing E-Scows on Lake Mendota is a cherished memory, Stingray says. Wow, those Tasmanian dragons are gorgeous. 3 crew. Yeah, normally you sail them with 3 or 4. Great show, Tom and Julia. Thanks, Ted Ryman. Love Madison. Great drum corps city as well. That's a good point, Bill. Bill, are you into drum corps? That's cool. I was marching band. Ted says England is going to win. Ted Ryman. That was quite a match the other day. That promoted England to the finals.
Yeah.
Tony Shale, who's going to win on Sunday? The big match. Anybody else care to bet? Anybody else care to predict?
Jody
Whoever
Shields.
scores the most. Jody always comes up with, some kind of a.
Yeah.
Some kind of a. like that. Okay, Jody. I got to stop using that. Thanks, Ed Worley. Thanks, everybody. Brazil and Copa America and Italy and Euro. Okay, so that's interesting. Italy versus England. It's going to be a big one. Yeah, Stingray, it is. That's from an American. It's getting a lot of coverage here, too, isn't it?
It is, much more so than normal, I think. I don't know why.
Why is that? Because we
don't
got the NBA finals, the basketball finals. We just had we said at the top of the show, the Stanley Cup is wrapped up, the hockey, the NHL. And baseball is, it's early in the season, for kind of early, getting the middle part of the season, the All-Star break. But this soccer, this has gotten a lot of coverage.
It has. Well, I think we're also recognizing that soccer is the major sport.
The beautiful game. That's what they call it, the beautiful game.
Yeah.
And, of course, Meg played. Our kid played soccer. I watch more high school soccer games and middle school soccer games than I care to recall. But, okay, we'll come down. Mary Jude says, have a great weekend. Bill Haynes, yes, I am the drum corps and maybe the youngest show chairman in the U.S. Oh, really? At 21. Cool. So he's been at it for a while. Stingray will come down to penalty kicks, so toss a coin. We're still celebrating winning the Stanley Cup around here. Wingrove is saying, yeah, Bill, we celebrated that for you at the top of the show if you weren't on with us. And glad that you got through the tropical storm / hurricane and the rest. Okay, Julia?
Sir, please like, follow, and share.
Thanks for all you do for us, too, by the way, and everybody else for sending us in things. Your comments on this help us as well. Comment and replay if you're so inclined. We leave those comments on. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated if you wish to give us a few bucks per month, or even just a check, anything to help us cover the heat and light and electricity and computer costs and internet costs and so on. Julie, any other thoughts?
Take care, all. Jonathan Banks.
It is, indeed. We'll see you on. There's also Brazil versus Argentina in the Copa America. Yeah,
right.
We probably won't be watching that quite as closely, but we'll pay attention to that as well. Hope to see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend wherever you are, and sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao. Bye. Safe flight to Jonathan Frank.